Good evening, everyone, and welcome into episode 25 of the Forge podcast. I can't believe it's already been 25 episodes so far of the Forge podcast, but this is, like I said, this is episode 25, and it's brought to you, as always, by Shotgun Sports Network Alabama of the Shotgun Sports Network. My name is Ryan Messer, and we've got a lot to get into yet again. The winter storm here in the Southeast had a big impact on this week's action, but the Bulls did have a couple of games along with the Squadron. But before we get into everything, we also have some news from the Barons. But before we get into all of that, I want to thank you guys for watching, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. We also want to announce that we have a new platform. It is BlueSky. So we will have that link in the description as well, just so that you guys can connect with us there if you would rather. We're going to try to start putting content on there along with X and on Facebook, as we always do. And we also want to thank you guys, whether you're listening to us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even on Audible. Thank you guys for your support. We really appreciate it. I've had some folks message me lately thanking me because some people really did not know that we have a basketball team or a soccer team. So just this platform is just to inform people of what's going on in the realm of sports here in the Magic City. So want to thank you guys for all of your support and all of the comments and suggestions you've been giving us. But we also want to thank our sponsors, Blue Spring Living Water. They've been supporting us for about a year now. They want to keep you hydrated. It's good, clean water that's bottled right at the source, right up the road in Blount County, Alabama. So make sure you take a step toward a healthier life with Blue Spring Living Water. You can find it at your local grocer, or you can get it delivered right to your door safely and securely. Just go to bluespringlivingwater.com. And speaking of security, according to the Department of Justice, 1 in 5 Americans have experienced identity theft in their lifetime. And NordVPN can keep your sensitive information safe. So make sure that you go to click the link, and if you can click the link in the description, you can actually get 72% off Nord's 2-year plan today. So make sure you click the link in the description and check it out and surf safe with NordVPN. And then with that, this is the Forge Podcast, episode 25. Starting things off with the Birmingham Bulls, as always. On Saturday, we had a few transactions over the past week. On Saturday, we found out that Trevor Thurston was returning back from the ECHL. So, and then we also signed center Tyler Pinner to a tryout contract. And then they also waived Alex LaPlante. So, then on yesterday, they waived right winger Austin Weber, and Tyler Pinner was actually placed on a 14-day IR on his first day on the team. Then we saw Kip Ledzianko return back from the ECHL, and then unfortunately Michael Gillespie has been moved to the 30-day IR. So got a lot of injuries, but we've got a lot of people coming back from the ECHL, so that's big for us there. So that's, but we did have a schedule update with the winter storm impacting the state. Some games were rescheduled and postponed, so they had to move some opponents around a little bit, and then added 2 additional games between Birmingham and Huntsville at the end of the season to make the games up there. So the game for Birmingham that was postponed on Friday will be made up on March 14th. So unfortunately, the game had to be canceled. I know that there was a lot of safety concerns with people driving in some areas. So they pretty much said better safe than sorry. So with that, we did have the game on Saturday, the 11th, so against the Evansville Thunderbolts. And the game started out with Ty Taylor in the net for the Thunderbolts and Lotzie in for the Bulls. The game started off with Kyler Matthews dropping gloves with Bronson Adams just a minute 23 into the game, guys. Things got heated quick. Just 2.5 minutes later, the Thunderbolts did score. And then just 40 seconds later, the Bulls went on the power play for a trip. Unable to capitalize on that, Phil Ledzianko was charged with a high stick, putting the Bulls on a penalty kill. Then they were able to capitalize on that just over halfway through. And then with just over 7 left to play in the first, the Bulls did go back on the power play for a delay penalty. In the second, the Thunderbolts doubled up on the Bulls on shots, on goal, 18-9. But they finally did get a goal out of that midway through the period. Then into the third, it was started with the Bulls going on the power play, a minute 15 into the period for a high stick, and Drake Glover was able to capitalize on that one just 33 seconds in. They did pull lots just under 2 minutes left to play in regulation, but we were only able to get 1 goal out of that as Carson Rose did score with 9 seconds left to play, and there just wasn't any way to come back from that there. It was a good attempt, good hustle to try to come back. They didn't give up, so it was good to see them actually try to win that game there. And then on Sunday, they did take the trip up to Knoxville to face the Ice Bears. The game started with Steven Mundinger in the net for the Ice Bears and Lotzie again in for the Bulls. The game got started with Corson Green finding himself in the box for a trip just 7:06 into the game. Just over 4.5 minutes later, we saw Drake Glover finding the back of the net there, scoring for the Bulls. Off of the ensuing face-off, we saw Taylor Brierly run it back for another goal for the Bulls. And then just 7 minutes later, we saw Troy McTavish finding the net again to put the Bulls up 3-0. They did answer back with 9 seconds left to play in the first, but the Bulls did start off the third period on the power play for a trip just 2 minutes and 37 seconds in. 5 minutes later, we went back on the power play for roughing, but unable to capitalize on either one of those. The Ice Bears did score just past the midway point of the second period. They went back just 1:16 later and scored again. And then just a minute later, Ben Higgins found himself in the box for a cross-check. The penalty kill was successful, but the Ice Bears did score again to go ahead 4-3 with just 3.5 left in the second. The third got started with Nikita Kazarev tying things up with a goal just over a minute into the third period. Then we saw Jamie Dorsey get charged with a trip right at the 8-minute mark. And then the Bulls had 2 power play opportunities at 5:13 left to play for a hook. And then with a minute and 36 seconds left for a trip. Then Troy McTavish did drop gloves with Brennan Dowler, just 32 seconds left in regulation there. But in the overtime period, we did see Trevor Thurston walk it off for the Bulls up in Knoxville, just 3 minutes and 40 seconds in. So it was a good split for the Bulls to actually uh, get get the points there, and they're getting ready to head up to Roanoke for a couple of games. Standings right now are the Bulls at 11, 8, and 3. Huntsville is still number 1. And then Peoria Rivermen are number 2. And the Knoxville Ice Bears, who we just defeated in overtime, are in 3rd place. And the Bulls right now are sitting in 7th place. So, like I said, we've got a couple games with Roanoke this coming up week. And then we come back to face Huntsville at home on Monday. So, good to see some guys coming back. Hopefully, we'll be able to see these guys. It looked like we had a big improvement there on yesterday. So, switching things over to the Birmingham Squadron, we had a few transactions where we saw Antonio Reeves get assigned to the Squadron this past week, along with Keon Brooks getting the call up to the Pelicans for that 2-way contract there. So good luck to him, and I know he's still with us right now, but Antonio Reeves did get the call back to the Pelicans, so he's back in New Orleans right now. Tuesday, we did take on the Long Island Nets. They started out going back and forth before the squad jumped out to a 17-8 lead. And then they maintained that lead through the end of the opening quarter. The Nets were finally able to retake the lead with just over 5 minutes left in the first half there. And then they went back and forth, exchanging the lead before the Squadron took a 52 to 41 lead at halftime. The coming out of halftime, they went back and forth yet again, and before the Nets jumping out to a 72 to 65 lead midway through the third quarter. The Squadron did make a comeback thanks to Trey Mitchell getting 2 straight steals and turning them into 5 points. They did go back and forth yet again, being tied up at 81 at the end of the third. And then they went back and forth throughout the midway point of the fourth quarter. But some missed shots by the Squadron and the Nets getting the rebounds. They were able to jump out to a double-digit lead in the closing minutes before finally falling to the Nets 112 to 104. Jalen Crutcher and Josh Odoro did both have double-doubles on the loss, including Crutcher scoring a season-high 30 points. So that was good for him there, but just got to get some cohesiveness there with this team. On Friday, we saw the Capital City Go-Go come to town, and this game had to be played before an empty Legacy Arena due to the winter storm. Like I said, the Bulls game got canceled that evening, but the Squadron went ahead and played their game, but it was just an empty stadium, an empty arena there. Both teams went back and forth through the majority of the opening quarter. The Go-Go did jump out to a 27-16 lead in the final minutes of the opening quarter there. It was just a very physical game on both sides. The Squadron had to kind of get more physical when they realized that the officials were not going to call many fouls in this game. So there in the second quarter, Capital City increased their lead to 20 midway through, but there were a lot of bad passes for the Squadron, and we just couldn't hit it from behind the arc. So they wound up sitting at 70 to 49 there at halftime. Coming out of the half, they were able to maintain a lead for the first half of the third as they seemingly milked the clock, but then they started pulling away and led by 37 at the half waypoint of that third quarter. The fourth was just as bad as the Go-Go eventually wound up winning 134 to 99. So just a horrible game for the Bulls, for the Squadron there. Just couldn't get anything going. Not much communication there for these guys. I know that we had a couple newer guys on the team, so just trying to build that chemistry there. The biggest thing for that is that aside from the bad passing there, is that the Go-Go did double up on the Squadron on three-pointers. So it was, I think it was 18 to 9. So it was a struggle for them to hit anything from behind the arc there. That was not an issue for Antonio Reeves, however, as he wound up hitting for over 55% from behind the arc there. So, and then he also led the team in scoring that evening with 35 points. So he also had the team's only double-double that night. So really good game for him. Unfortunately, it just was not the best of nights for the Squadron. Then on Saturday, they took on the Capital City Go-Go yet again. This time, the Squadron did have the fans back behind them, and they did start out going back and forth as always. Both teams came out very physical. They knew that they would have to be very physical with these guys after facing them the evening before. So the Squadron did play much better this night, and they did exchange leads throughout the first quarter, ending with the Go-Go leading by 2 at the end of the first. The lead did exchange through the first half of the second quarter until the Squadron did start getting some defensive rebounds and building a lead and kept it all the way to the half. Coming out of halftime, the Go-Go did come out hot and began chipping away at that lead, and finally they got back to exchanging leads again until midway through the third quarter, where the Squadron built a 10-point lead. But the Go-Go was able to keep chipping away at that lead again. It was down to 4 at the end of the third quarter. Then the fourth, Capital City wound up retaking the lead early before the Squadron retook it back and held it through the end of the game to split the series, with the Squadron winning 113 to 108. Antonio Reeves and Josh Oduro both led the team in scoring in that win with 20 points apiece. So good night for the Squadron there. They realized what they needed to do the next day. So TJ Saint, good job coaching there. He made the adjustments he needed to make. So really glad to see that they're actually able to make some adjustments. Not much what we saw last year. Seemed like they kind of struggled with that, but good job, running it back and actually splitting that series with them. Standings right now, Birmingham sitting at 2-4. They're 15th place in the Eastern Conference of the NBA G League. We've still got a lot of basketball to play, so, and the way that they're starting to build a little bit of chemistry, it's starting to see that they can actually build upon what they lacked in previous games. So next week, this coming up week, we see Wednesday, the Squadron heads up to Hoffman Estates up in Illinois to take on the Windy City Bulls. And then Sunday, the Wisconsin Herd comes to town, and we will see them there. And then I think they play again on Tuesday. So stoked for that. Can't wait for the to see some more Squadron basketball this week. Switching things over to the Birmingham Stallions, where on Thursday we saw running back Demetric Felton sign a future deals with the Washington Commanders. So, unfortunately, looks like he's not going to be on the roster this coming up season. And then we also saw today that the inside linebacker for the Stallions the past couple of years, Elijah Sullivan, is back. So glad to see him back. And then Shee Smith, out of a wide receiver out of South Carolina, was also signed by the Stallions today. So great to see these signings. We still got to see what Coach Holtz and the team does for a GM. So with all this stuff and camp getting ready to get going in the last month, couple weeks in, I think they report the last couple weeks in February. So it's not going to be long till we're going to see camp. So it's getting heated up. So we cannot wait to see what the Stallions do this coming up season. Switching things over to the Birmingham Barons. Unfortunately, on Wednesday, we found out that Barons manager from last season, Sergio Santos, who was a top candidate for the White Sox job last season, he was also able to win with very fluid roster with the issues that the Sox had up in the parent team there. But he was promoted to manager of the Charlotte Knights of the Triple-A. So he's very great at developing talent, as shown by the number of call-ups that we saw last season, and also winning the Southern League this past season. So we wish Sergio well. Really cool dude. Down to earth. Really, knows his ball. So great to see him get that opportunity. And we've been trying to reach out to the Barons to see if there's anybody that they're looking at. But we'll have to see. Once we find out, we will definitely get that out to you as soon as possible. But before we go, like I said, we're on BlueSky now, so make sure you check us out. The link in the description. And then we also have a full week ahead of us this coming up week with Friday and Saturday with the Squadron, and then on Monday with the Bulls, and then Tuesday you've got the another Squadron game. So it's almost time for the Barons and the UFL to get ready for their seasons. So hopefully, once we find out who the manager is going to be for the Barons, we will let you guys know. We also have a vacancy in the UFL for the Stallions in our GM, but there's only a couple roster spots for the for camp roster open right now. So I really don't think kind of left us in actually a really good spot. So we're trying to keep you guys updated on roster score updates throughout the week now. So make sure you guys check out on BlueSky. We're going to try to get Instagram up and going. We're also going to be you guys know we're on Facebook and on X. So until next week, I will see you guys then. Have a great week and good night.